March 1934. In a hotel room in Munich, a door suddenly burst open. Gray uniforms with skull insignia spilled inside. Ernst Röhm lifted his head from the pillow, blinking against the bright light. Dragged to his feet, he faced the men and said, "If you intend to take my life, let Adolf do it himself." These men had once been his own creation, yet now their loyalty belonged elsewhere. On their cuffs, their allegiance was clear: Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, or LSSAH. Chosen for strength, honed past hesitation, trained to obey without question, these bodyguards were built in reverse, not merely to protect their leader, but to eliminate any who dared to stand too close. That night, they secured Germany for Hitler, and soon their fanatical devotion would turn outward, engulfing Europe in flames. The early years, 1923. The story begins on November 9, 1923. Adolf Hitler was far from the feared dictator he would later become, yet he already commanded 2,000 men marching through the streets of Munich toward the Bavarian Defense Ministry. The Nazis had not yet conquered the nation. Their chance of taking control relied entirely on force. These were not conventional soldiers. They were members of a paramilitary group known as the Sturmabteilung, or SA, or Storm Division, formed by Ernst Röhm. These men were trained to fight ruthlessly, ready to crush opposition, clearing the path for Hitler's rise. They were unafraid to confront government forces, and when 130 German soldiers blocked their way, neither Hitler nor his men faltered. Guns were drawn, shots rang out, and 16 Nazis fell. Hitler would be imprisoned for this failed coup, but upon his release in 1924, he was determined to rebuild a loyal, fanatical personal guard, a unit that would eventually become the SS. Rising tensions in Germany, late 1920s to early 1930s. Through the 1920s, the Nazis were far from the most popular party. But when the Great Depression hit in 1929, deepening economic struggles across Germany, the populace began to pay attention to Hitler's message. By the early 1930s, millions were casting their votes for the Nazis. Hitler gradually consolidated power, and by 1933, he became chancellor. Alongside him, the SA ensured that no one dared challenge his authority. But even as the nation celebrated Hitler's rise, a dark question lingered. Could these men who had helped secure his ascent one day turn against him? To solidify his control, Hitler expanded a personal guard drawn from the new SS, or Schutzstaffel. What began as a unit of barely 100 men quickly grew to nearly 800 by November 1933. During a commemoration in Munich, Hitler demanded they swear an unconditional oath of loyalty to him personally. This elite unit, officially titled the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, did not serve Germany nor any law, but only Hitler. Selection was rigorous. Only young, healthy men of so-called Aryan purity, with perfect teeth, muscular builds, and flawless health could join. They underwent grueling physical and psychological tests, enduring harsh training regimes designed by Heinrich Himmler to mold them into unflinching soldiers. The Night of the Long Knives, 1934. By mid-1934, tensions between Hitler and the SA, led by Ernst Röhm, had reached a breaking point. Röhm demanded greater influence, suggesting the SA replace the army as Germany's official military. Hitler would not allow it. On June 30, 1934, Hitler and his SS guards struck. SA leaders were executed, rivals eliminated, and the power of the SS solidified. Rome himself was not spared. Hitler framed this purge as a necessary act of national security, claiming a coup had been afoot. From that day forward, the SS became Germany's dominant paramilitary force, expanding their powers, gaining motorized equipment, and preparing for operations beyond Germany's borders. Early campaigns: Saarland, Austria, Sudetenland. In 1935, the SS tested their abilities during the Saarland operation, learning military deployment and occupation techniques. They would later apply these skills in Austria and the Sudetenland. By the time Hitler turned his ambitions to Poland, the Leibstandarte had become nearly indistinguishable from the regular army. Uniforms were similar, with only the SS runes and a unique skeleton key insignia marking them as Hitler's elite. Invasion of Poland, 1939. At 4:45 a.m. September 1, 1939, the Leibstandarte SS crossed into Poland, initiating World War II. Their reputation for ruthlessness was legendary: villages burned, counterattacks crushed, and civilians executed without mercy. Polish forces could not withstand the highly trained, brutal SS soldiers, who secured key infrastructure and advanced with deadly efficiency. Within just over a month, Poland fell. But for the LSSAH, victory was not enough. They had been conditioned to fight relentlessly. Western campaigns: Netherlands and France. In 1940, the LSSAH invaded the Netherlands, advancing 134 miles in just 4 days. They helped collapse the Allied perimeter at Dunkirk and played a central role in the conquest of France. Even as the war expanded, the SS continued their brutal operations, executing civilians, destroying towns, and cementing their reputation as one of the most feared units of the Nazi military. Eastern Front, Soviet Union. By 1941, the LSSAH had grown to 11,000 men and was refitted into a grenadier division with armored vehicles, including the Tiger I heavy tank. In the Soviet Union, they smashed through defenses, crushing platoons and terrorizing civilians, leaving a lasting legacy of fear and destruction. Commanders like Kurt Meyer and Josef Dietrich became infamous for their ruthless tactics, from torching villages to executing prisoners. By 1943, Soviet forces began their counteroffensive, inflicting heavy losses on the SS and pushing them back. Allied invasions: Italy and France. As the Allies advanced from the south and west, the LSSAH attempted to hold positions but suffered devastating losses. In Italy, they initially secured minor victories but could not stem the Allied advance. By 1944, Germany's Axis partners were collapsing. During Operation Overland, June 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history, the SS tried to reinforce German defenses in France, yet they were eventually surrounded, suffering thousands of casualties and losing all remaining equipment. Final defeat, 1945. By April 1945, Hitler ordered the remaining SS soldiers to strip off their uniforms. The once elite unit was reduced to a shadow of its former self, with only 1,600 men and a handful of tanks. Many surrendered to American forces, others fell into Soviet hands, facing harsh imprisonment and labor camps. The LSSAH, once the pinnacle of Hitler's military fanatics, ceased to exist. Their brutality left an indelible mark on history, and the atrocities they committed ensured that their name would remain infamous forever.